Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sun is rising, feel the warmth on my face. There's a lot to do now, but there ain't no race. I sip my coffee, I'm feeling fine. No need to work yet, I'm gonna take my time. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. Take a look.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am your host. With us, we have Tameka S. Bright, founder of Pink Conversations Radio Show.
Hello, how
Welcome,
are you?
Tameka. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I've been looking forward to this because it's always great to have somebody else who's kind of in the same business and learn
Yeah.
about how you got started and why. So why don't we start out real quickly with you, just telling the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I am Tameka Bright. I'm host and creator of Pink Conversations, Empower, Inform, Inspire, and that is what the show is all about. The show is designed for everyone to reach purpose. And I started off as a podcast, but it is now a broadcast on a radio station here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And before I got into radio, I was a cheerleading coach.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we're going to
Yes,
talk about that transition in a second because
yes.
that sounds interesting. Now, that is a complete difference, but, you know, I'm
It
sure
is,
there's
right?
I'm definitely sure there's a reason behind it. So
Yes,
now,
yes.
are you originally from the North Carolina area?
I am not. I was born in New York, but I was raised in the North Carolina area. I was raised in New Bern, North
Okay.
Carolina. So,
Okay.
yeah, on the coast. So, yeah, so I've been here for a minute. In Fayetteville, I've been in Fayetteville for about 6 years now.
Okay. All right. Well, so it's probably awesome to be able to see that your program has gone from one entity to another level. And I think that is great. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into about the actual business, tell me how you got started into this, because you talked just a minute about the fact that you were a cheerleading coach. Now, how do you go from being a cheerleading coach to doing the business? And then what inspired you to decide to do this business?
So I was a cheerleading coach. I coached cheerleading for over 10 years. I did high school, Pop Warner, I did All-Star, and lastly college. And I coached college for 8 years. And as of August of this year, I walked away and was like, okay, next phase, next chapter or so in my life. Definitely did that with a lot of praying, a lot of seeking God to make sure that was the move that he had for me. And it was. So I did that 4 national championships with cheerleading. I'm excited about that. I thank God for that.
Wow.
But it was just time to, do something different. I'm the type of person where I don't want, to ever look back and be like, oh man, I wonder what it would have been like if I did this or if I did that.
Right.
I feel like when it's there for you, do it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, okay, what's next? That's kind of the attitude I have. That's just me. And then I'm definitely praying about everything. So that's how the transition went definitely through a lot of praying and fasting to make sure I made the right move, because I left a full-time job to do radio full-time. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge transition. Like I said, 10 years, it takes a lot to get into that type of profession. And, I can be honest and say I have never seen too many women of color or people of color, running in cheerleading squads, and then to doing it at the level that you were doing it. I'm sure that you were phenomenal. So what made you decide to get into the radio business? I mean, most people don't even really understand what it takes to even do a podcast. But then now that you're out of the podcast phase and you have a real talk show, a real radio show, what made you decide to make that change?
Well, I always wanted to be in some form of entertainment. I knew that when I was in college, I was going to be an entertainment attorney. So I knew I was going to be an entertainment attorney, work with music and media. That was my dream, for
Mm-hmm.
myself. Well, God quickly shut that down. It was like, listen, it's what I have for you in your life. And the reason I know that it was not where God needed me to be, because I applied to every law school in Southern California. And I
Wow.
applied to other law schools. Yeah, and I'm not joking. Every law school in Southern California, and some other law schools, and I didn't get accepted to not one. Okay, I didn't even get well, we might accept you or we can put you on a waiting list. I didn't get any of that. So it
Wow.
was definitely not where God had me to be. So I was like, okay, and it's funny because I wanted to be an attorney, but I don't like to do a lot of reading and a lot of writing.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't have worked out. And as far as the long hours, nah, I love family. So when I want my family time, so it was just, yeah, like, how are you going to make that work? So, just learning those things about myself. So got into coaching. And then, when I was in college though, I was in radio. I worked with, Radio One for 2 years, and I started as a promotions team. So I was
Okay.
doing like the concerts, was on the street team and things like that. And then I started board opping for a gospel station where you're just pushing a bunch of buttons. It's like I like to say, a person with ADD like myself, that's a person's dream because it's buttons everywhere. So
Okay.
so I got to do that, and then I started voice tracking, which is just recording on the gospel station, and then eventually I went on live. So I did that for 2 years, and that was when I got out of college, and then
Mm-hmm.
of course left that and ended up moving back home and working in the recreation department, doing cheerleading again and coaching track and field, and just got into the coaching realm. Went back to school to get my master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
and then came here to Fayetteville, and I walked into the radio station and was like, hey, I used to do radio and I want to get back into it. And it took 2 years before they called me back to say, okay, we have a position open, and I started working part time with Cumulus, and I still do that.
Okay.
I have another show on Saturdays, 10 to 3 with the Cumulus radio station here. And, then I was like, okay, well, I think I'm going to do my own thing. I want to see how this thing, how it works out, and
Right. Mm-hmm.
came up with the name. And when people hear Pink Conversations, they automatically think, oh, it's a show for girls. But
Mm-hmm.
I tell them it's a show for everybody. I just like the color pink and I like to conversate. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
that's how we got that name.
Okay. Yeah, and that's interesting. I loved how the background of how you actually worked your way to this, but then it's funny, like you said, you try to do your own thing, but then realize that no, that's not the direction you're supposed to go. And I think we kind of
Right.
all have those revelations about what it is we're trying to do and trying to find ourselves. But when you have a certain God gifted talent, and we all have them, it's just understanding what it is that you're trying to convey and what you want people to hear from you. So tell me a little bit about what Pink Conversations is about, and what do you refer to? Because I think, it's funny, when I seen the name, I think the first thing that kind of brought to my mind was, well, I wonder if they talk a lot about cancer or this, that, because sometimes when you hear the word pink is always
Yeah.
utilized in
Yeah.
I won't say in a negative way, but it's always attracts people in an awareness phase. So tell
Right.
me a little
Yes.
bit, yeah. So
That's
like
funny that you said that it attracts people in an awareness phase, because that is what my show is about. Is like making people aware. And I never even put that coalition together. So thank you for that.
well,
I
you're welcome.
never even put that together. I'm like, well, dang, it does. Look at God. But, it's about topics that empower, inform, and inspire. That's what it's about. And I don't do any celebrity gossip, and I don't do any political talk. So, I try to keep social topics that are important to my generation and generations that are younger, but not talking a lot of politics. I do, touch some of the issues. I did touch some of the flag issues that we were having earlier in the summer with the NFL League. I talked about that just a little, but I don't make my whole show that.
Right.
This month, for the month of February, I'm actually talking about love, because that's the love month. So, we're going to talk about happy and healthy relationships. So, and I do, in November, I had a segment of just happy and healthy marriages. I covered, of course, in October, I did have a show, on breast cancer, but I also did a show on, domestic violence and suicide awareness. So those are the type of things that I cover. And I, feature community spotlight guests on my show. So if there's anything going on in the community or surrounding areas, I like to bring people in to talk about what they have going on and getting people to go out in the community and support these events.
But yeah, that's awesome. I love the categories that you talk about, and you're right. I think there's enough news and negativity that we hear every day. You know, when it surrounds with. I mean, unfortunately, we have to look at our politics, you know, as being a negative thing every day. You know, on top of
Right.
some of the other issues that we have going on around the world and within our own country, and of course in our own backyards. So I think it's always important to be able to have programs that, you know, provide, like you said, information, keeps people aware, but also they're topics of what the community really wants to talk about, because they don't
Yeah.
always get that opportunity to be spotlighted. And, you know, it's a blessing
Right.
that you were there in North Carolina to provide that service for them with your program. So if any, you know, I guess tell the people a little bit, you know, the listeners about what the process is. You know, I talked a little bit about it through other podcast programs and so forth, but I don't think people really understand truly what it takes to be, whether you're doing a podcast show or whether you have your own radio talk show. So can you just kind of give some insight to that?
Yeah, so I do want to go back and say that my show, it has different segments in it. So I do my royal empowerment. That's how I start off my show, and that's a scripture that I would give for that day. And then I give a bright moment after that scripture, and basically just explaining what that scripture is saying. And I do all of that through prayer. Like, you know, I'm praying throughout the week of what scripture to give, because I really feel that my show is God led. And so I don't just go on saying anything and doing anything, even down to my topics. And then I have a doing way too much segment, is where it's a crazy story out there that's true, believe it or not. It's crazy, but it is true. Doing my random facts segment, which is giving some random facts where you're just like, who would know something like that? So I give you, you know, just interesting facts. I have my fit tips that Resurrect Fitness. Kelvin Delmar comes on from Resurrect Fitness, and he gives us fit tips for the week, helping us like eating right and exercising.
Okay.
And then I have my guy, Coach Jay. He does our motivational minute from his motivational playbook. So I do different segments, you know, within the show to kind of keep it going. But the process is just that, preparing for the show. I also have a college spotlight. So I highlight a college each week within the United States, community college, 2-year college, or university. So it's just preparing, like, you know, my show right now it's once a week, but there's a lot of preparation that has to go into that. I'm getting better at not having like 4 or 5 pages of scripts now in the studio with me, like writing out everything I say. But when I first started saying, I would write out everything that I say, when I wouldn't follow the script. I'd end up going left when I'm supposed to stay right here. So I've gotten better at just doing like bullet points to make sure. But that's what it is. It's preparing, you know, it's doing your research on some of these topics, because when you're interviewing a guest, you want to make sure you've done your research on that guest, and you know what questions that you're asking, and you want to make sure you've done your research on the topics that you're actually putting out there. So I'm doing that as well. And then there's a business side to it. So I'm doing that too. It's not just, oh, you just want a radio and that's it. No, there's a business side to that. And then I'm working that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think people really understand what goes on in the background. They think when they, you know, hear us on the air, it's like, oh, you know, this is really easy. And I tell people
No, it's
exactly.
not.
And you're right. Because even though it may only be once a week, like you said, it's that preparation, understanding what it is your topics are going to be about, you know, or why you want to even reach out to that person, even have that conversation, or if they want to come and talk to you. I mean, there's so many pieces that come with that. Even as something as simple as the equipment, you know, people don't realize the process you have to go through even with your equipment to make sure that you can be heard properly. And because I know that if you can't hear somebody, I think I've gone through several microphones, so I finally found the one that I really liked and that was really good, that if they can't hear you properly, they're not going to listen to you, you know. So,
exactly. Or if you have dead air, you know, I've done that. I've been on the radio station and nothing is playing, because I'm thinking so like you said, it's learning, you know, how to work that board. And I do everything on my show. Like, I work my board, I do the recording, I answer the phone, and then the show is also Facebook Live, so I'm doing well and I'm on air. So, you know, I'm not just sitting in the studio, sitting back. I'm callers on air, I record the callers, I'm pushing those buttons on the board to make sure you can hear it. So you're right. And I think, I mean, it may look easy and it may sound easy, but that's part of working your gift. I that, like you said, God has given everyone a gift. We all have that, but we've got to work it. And, you know, we work that gift and we become better at it. Just because we're given it doesn't mean we just have to let it lie dormant or not work at it. Right. So, and that's what kind of makes it maybe sound easy or look easy for us, because we're actually working at that.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And then, like I said, I think it's amazing. I've been in a couple of studios before, but I've never really actually done any type of live, you know, radio talk shows and so forth. But it's definitely something interesting. You know, the one thing that I always tell people, the thing I love about doing these shows that we have an opportunity to be behind the mic, and really giving other women or men, whoever, these opportunities to share their stories and to learn. We learn so much from other people, and that gives them a platform that they would normally not have. And those are things
Right.
that I always find very in fulfillment for me, and I'm sure it's the same way for you, because like you said, that this is something that you're using your platform and realizing that this is a gift that God has given you, and you're going with that gift because it's something you've ignored to some degree, but then you finally found it, and here it is, and now you're actually doing it. And I think it's awesome. But tell me. Oh, you're welcome. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, talk to me a little bit about the challenges. There's always challenges in any type, no matter what type of business you have. So tell me a little bit about what you've gone through and stepping into this process, because like I said, you went from being, in the cheerleading world for more than 10 years. So I'm sure there's a whole lot of things that you've had to reconfigure and think about, as a new business owner doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so definitely, like I said, I walked away in August, and that was a full-time paid position with benefits, to this, which is not full-time paid. On the same scale as what I was already making. So that was a challenge in itself. You're losing that income. I have a 2-year-old, I have a husband. So there's another challenge, losing that income, and you have a family. And then the time, because now you're running your own business. And so you got to put in time to that, because in order for it to work and for it to be right, you have to put time into it. So, now you have to learn how to balance more. I already had to balance with my son and my husband and work. And now I have to balance even more because this is my own thing. And,
right.
So that was a challenge. And getting my husband, he's very supportive of what I do. But, when you walk away from a full-time job, you're like, wait a minute, type
right.
thing. So getting him to, just to understand what my dream is and to focus on what I felt like God was leading me to do. And just taking that, calling it a leap of faith, a bound of faith, a jump. I mean, I bungee jump. That's what I tell people. I just jump out there. And so, and that's what it is. Taking that, I bungeed, all right. So, but, my net, my harness, whatever you want to call it, that's God. And I feel like when God tells you to move, that's exactly what you have to do. Because if you don't, then you're going to have to reap the, concussions off of that. But I think, and that's exactly what I was doing. I just was going by what God told me to do. And just because, you feel like God is telling you to move or shifting you in a certain direction, doesn't mean it's always going to be an easy and smooth transition, because that's where the trusting part comes in.
Absolutely.
So because if it's smooth and easy, then everybody would do it.
That's right.
So, and so it has to be a trusting, like, okay, I'm telling you to shift this way, shift that way. I got you. You just have to trust me that I got you. And so that's, that is what, that's what I'm doing.
Well, and you're doing a phenomenal job, and you definitely should be patting yourself on the back every day. And, I just think it's important that, we all have to understand that we have to follow our dreams, and and we have to trust in the journey that we decide to choose, or that's set there for us, because we already know that the platform is there for us. The path is already there for us. We have a tendency of taking ourselves off those paths. But once you do understand it and you find it, I applaud anybody who's decided that they want to live their dreams. And it's okay if nobody else understands it, as long as you understand it. And and know why you're doing it. And obviously you were doing a phenomenal job. You're out here doing your thing. And like I said, I applaud you for that. And I think it's wonderful. But let me ask you this question. If you had one woman who would come up and ask you about business, what would you share with her?
One woman that comes to me and asks me about business is to pray about it. Again, it's big. The word says that your steps are ordered. The steps of the righteous man is ordered. And so that took growth, because again, I was telling you, when I was in coming out of college, I was so stuck on going to law school. Like, that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I just had to really learn to allow God to order my steps. So instead of going on what they may say willy-nilly about things, just pray and ask for direction. Always have a plan. The word always talks to you about having a plan, writing it down and making it plain. So the first thing I would definitely say is write that plan down. The thing is, the dreams that we are given or that we have, they're given to us. That's not something we just wake up one day and was like, oh, we just made this up. No, they're given to us. Those dreams and visions that are given to us by God. And so if he gives those to you, he's going to allow you with the provisions that you need to see those come to pass. But you got to be, you have to be smart about it, and you've got to seek him in the direction that you go. And I mean, that's honestly what I would say, is just write down whatever your vision may be and just seek God for the answers, for the wisdom, what you need to go on this journey. Because you're going to have people that support you and you're going to have people who don't.
That's right.
And there is enough room at the top for everybody. I always say the sky is not the limit. There's more. So it is no point, especially as women, we've got to learn to come together and support and help each other and be supportive of each other. And so I thank you so much just for the kind words that you said, and right back to you with the phenomenal job that you are doing. And you're giving a platform for women to do this. And so, kudos to you for doing that and not feeling that, oh, well, we know we're in the same profession, because you could have easily been like, nope, she's doing the same thing I do. Let's move on. No, you're giving the same, and that's good. We as women, we are so quick to, especially as African Americans, we can be so quick to shoot each other down and not be supportive. And we've got to stop that. And the only way we're going to make it to the top is if we support each other and we be there for each other, because there's enough room for everybody out there. So that's one thing I would definitely tell that woman is to just make sure you have that plan written down. And even if it seems crazy, if it seems far-fetched, like I don't know how my dream and my goal of my show is for it to be syndicated. So I wrote that down. I don't know how that's going to happen and how to get into that, and it seems far-fetched. It seems like, wow, can I do that? Yes, I'm going to write that down. And that's how, we're going to make that happen.
That's right. That's right. And as long as you believe in yourself, that's all that counts. Like I said,
That's
the rest
right.
of it is irrelevant. Like I said, you're not going to always get that support. And I think a lot of times people make the mistake that just because they're in business, they expect everybody to follow them. They expect everybody to be supportive. They expect them all to spend their money and just on them. And, I said,
Right.
it's such a much larger world out there. And there's always somebody out here who needs to hear those kind words, who needs to have that awareness, or who needs to hear that one thing that can change them forever, so I definitely believe in what you're doing, and I definitely appreciate the kind words that you had given to me and said to me, because it means a lot to me. And you're right, there is not enough support, and that is the reason why I have built this program, even with my Women's Small Business Initiative program, is that's what it's about, is sharing resources and supporting each other and utilizing the platform to enhance yourself. And then there's another woman out here who's interested in becoming an entrepreneur. We're here for you. This is what it's about. That you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got this.
Yep.
So.
Right. Yep. No, I totally agree. And like I said, that's what I love about this, and I love about your show and what you're doing. So again, kudos to you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. But on that note, we definitely want to know how we can all get a hold of you and when we can listen to your show. So if you could give that information, that would be great.
Okay. Well, again, it's Pink Conversations, Empower, Inform, Inspire. And you can look us up on Facebook. It's under Pink Conversations, and it's spelled just like it is. We didn't go pink crazy with it, spelling it some crazy way. It's spelled Pink, Pink, and then Conversations on Facebook. And you can also find us on Instagram at Pink Conversations _Tameka Bright. And my name is spelled with an E, Tameka. And my website is pinkconvo.com or tamekabright.com. And I'm on Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm also I'm on Facebook Live with it. So you can see every crazy thing that goes on in the studio. And there's some crazy moments that I have that you can see. You can see me live in the studio doing everything. And if you're in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, it's on 105.7. So you can turn to that station and listen, WCLN 105.7.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Do you have any last words for the listeners?
Just stay purpose-driven and passion-focused. And I just want to take this time to thank you once again.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And again, I would like to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing your story, but for everyone else, I'm here every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. You can follow us on Spreaker. That's at www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. You can also find me on the WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com. Visit us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. But until then, you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.